Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to Visual Eyes. Today, I have the pleasure of having Cathy Brown from the Community Foundation of Broward. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey and what inspired you to join Community Foundation of Broward and helping the Broward community?
Oh, thanks, Chris. I am so happy to be here with you. I know we have talked at various places about the passion we both share in supporting nonprofits, and that really is what brought me to the Community Foundation. I started my career as a elementary school teacher. And then kind of moved into nonprofit, did some nonprofit program work, then ran a couple of nonprofits, then had the pleasure of getting to join the fundraising school in working and teaching nonprofits around the country. And so it sort of all of those experiences, my career has always been in sort of the education and nonprofit space. Almost that if I was being paid to do, say, the education side, then I was volunteering on the nonprofit side and vice versa.
Sure. Okay.
So I've always been in this space, but I happened to come down to Fort Lauderdale to teach a class. And they were telling me about this cool new startup program they had to build the nonprofit center and kind of how that was set up to work. And at the same time, conveniently, my husband was taking a job in Hialeah. So we were moving to the area. And it so rarely does everything line up so right.
Not
but
always,
as I put it together and started really thinking about it, it marries everything that I'm passionate about: teaching, learning, education, nonprofit support, building people up, strengthening capacity. It just sort of does all of those things in one place. So when they said, "Do you want to do this?" I said yes before I even really knew what this was. So that's a little of the journey here.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't actually know that there was so much backstory that you had on coming down here just in the nonprofit sector. I knew you were big in the nonprofits just because of conversations that I've heard from other people and you being here. We met at Dollars and Cents.
We did.
Over 2 years ago.
Yeah. That was the first formal program that the Nonprofit Center collaborated with other partners to put on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Like, how did that space come together? How did you be able to pull all of these nonprofits together to really do Dollars and Cents?
Sure. As I said, that was our first big event. And it came out of the whole desire as we were launching the center to be seen as a collaborative partner, and someone who is working with all of the people and parts and activities that were going on in the community, as opposed to being a competitor or another thing. So I reached out intentionally in the first couple of months of my time here and met with the folks at the Association of Fundraising Professionals Broward chapter. I met with the Nonprofit Executive Alliance. At that time, they were still focused in Broward. Now they've expanded as well. I met with the United Way. I met with the Children's Services Council. So I met and learned a little bit about what everybody was doing, and also at the same time was listening to nonprofits as I met with them about what the biggest questions were and concerns were. And it really was to understand, how do we continue to raise funds, even in 2 years ago in the environment then, and coming out of the pandemic, where's the strengths, where are the benefits, where are the challenges, and how can we start to work together? So, we launched under that whole, let's do this collaboratively, let's do this together.
Yeah, I remember it was an amazing panel. I remember Vanessa Seltzer was on it.
Yes.
And Tiffany and Eric from Children's Harbor were both there.
Yes.
I'm probably missing a couple more people from the panel, but those are the ones that I'm still in contact with today and I definitely have connected with. So it was amazing to hear like even as me coming in as a for-profit, I got so much value, like
That
in
was
just
awesome.
understanding what the nonprofits are going through. You know, they're having to change out people. How do you get people to stay in your organization? How are
Oh,
you,
yeah.
retaining these talent
Yeah.
without, them taking the leave to go to a for-profit or whatever the situation is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I thought it was extremely valuable.
Oh,
And I
good.
really hope that, we have more of those opportunities, because that was an amazing event. So,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
we're excited about that, and we still, yeah, we've worked on several different things. We do a funders panel
Okay.
annually in partnership with the AFP,
Good.
and that brings funders from around the community and the region together for gosh, I think there are over 100 nonprofits that typically attend, and just to hear what are the funders looking for right now. We worked alongside a lot of the business development organizations, the Small Business Development Center and others, to help organizations understand the business side of the work that we're doing. So we're working again alongside a lot of these partners to make sure that our nonprofit professionals know and have access to the great resources that they need to continue to be able to focus on their missions.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I love about your organization specifically is you're so focused on collaboration. Like
Yeah.
you're really trying to make sure that there's an opportunity. And one of the things I remember having a conversation with you is, before somebody starts a new nonprofit, is there a way for you to collaborate with a current nonprofit? Is so
Yes.
important, because you're already, going after the same donor dollar.
Right.
And if you can find a way to like merge together or do something collaboratively, you're actually building a different audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you have any success stories or collaboration stories that you could share that maybe they didn't go down the nonprofit realm and they actually partnered with a current nonprofit?
Yeah, we've actually had that situation often. I probably get an email or a call almost weekly from someone, and what I love about the folks that start nonprofits is it comes out of a place of passion.
Hmm.
There is never a plan to go in and make the money doing this, that, and the other. It's more, there always comes from a passion, but
Yeah.
but because of that. Um, a lot of times that research isn't necessarily the first thing that they do, or the understanding of what it means to run a business, because at the end of the day a nonprofit is a business. It just does something different with the profits. That's really the only big difference.
Right.
And so I do get that question pretty regularly, and I always start out with the same answer: amazing, love that you've found this need. um, let's first start with looking at who in the community is doing it,
Right.
because Broward has over 10,000 organizations registered as nonprofits just in Broward County. And of those, 80% of them are small, grassroots, sort of single focused, regional, or even, zip code based kind of
Oh
organizations.
yeah.
Very valuable, but also not always as connected as they could be. So one of the things we did initially is really intentionally reached out to help organizations learn and understand who's working in the space. So the website that we have, cfbroward.org, one of the spaces on the Nonprofit Center is a nonprofit directory,
Yeah.
so that anyone that's either doing work in the space, looking to fund work in the space, or just wants to know who else is out there, can get in and understand who that list, who's in that space. So you can sort that list by who's doing work with animal care, or who's doing work with AIDS and HIV support, or whatever the topic is. And so you can find the groups that are already doing that work. So routinely, again, I get those messages and I have those
Yeah.
conversations with organizations, and point them to that resource. We also have some templates and additional resources online that point people to particular. There's a Candid resource. Candid is a national website, but they've got some great
Mm,
training resources. And it's how to start a nonprofit and how to know if that's right for you.
that's
And it's a
amazing.
nice little checklist that says, do you have these things in place? Do you know these people? Do you have funds for your first 3 years secured, so that you can grow the organization? Because, many funders and even donors want to wait and see you get started beforehand. So So we're able to provide a lot of those resources and help organizations. I can think of a couple of folks that are in that process that are doing that research now.
Right.
Some that have, I can think of, of a couple that have really found a niche that others aren't serving, and are moving forward and getting started. And then others that have found, food delivery, food service, for example. Hunger is a huge issue,
It
and
is.
there's so many aspects to it. And that's not to say that we can't support all the food pantries that we have in the community. We certainly can. But before we open new ones, let's get in to see where those organizations are working and help them see where those gaps are versus, just opening up yet another space that we've now got to figure out how we're going to get the food to. And that's just,
Correct. Yeah.
just as an example. So, yeah.
No, it's very insightful, because honestly, when we're looking at trying to help, sometimes, like you said, we're all, nonprofits are always looking at the passion first.
Yeah.
And if they step back, take a look at those resources that are out there and see, oh, this organization is not serving this area, but they could.
Right.
And now if I just added this on as a program,
Mm-hmm.
through their organization, I'm still doing the passion, I'm still doing the work.
Absolutely.
But you're not having to focus on all those extra pieces of going out and fundraising.
Yeah.
Having to try to build a business structure.
Exactly.
Sometimes you may actually get an assistant just by having the program through another organization. So not everything's falling on you.
Yeah.
So I think that's very valuable. Going back to that resource and that website where they can connect. Obviously you probably don't have all 10,000 nonprofits listed there.
We actually do.
You have all 10,000.
We do. If they are registered with the IRS, they are listed on the directory. It is a partnership with Candid,
That's
again,
amazing.
that national entity that tracks all of that information. So any nonprofit that is registered in Broward will be featured there. Now, the caveat is the information that's featured there is pulled from their 990 documentation. Yep. And right now that's about 3 years old. And in what the IRS has updated. So nonprofits can go in and claim their profiles and they can get that straight through our website, and then put in updated information so that your current board, your current budget, all that kind of information is there. And that's really, really helpful for donors and funders who are looking and checking out organizations as they learn about them to see, okay, their information is here and it's current. This looks like an organization that I can trust and I want to work with. So it's a great resource for any organization to be able to go in and claim their profile. And there's even an opportunity to earn badges that you can earn a bronze, a silver, a gold, or even a platinum badge. And it just comes from being transparent on the information that you're sharing. That funders and donors can get in and see all that information easily. So it's an easy way to build trust, to build comfort, to build confidence, and to be sure that the information that is portrayed there is accurate. That your address is correct, that your executive director or board chair or whoever is leading the work is accurate, so that people know who to contact.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's extremely important, especially for donors that are looking, where do I want to spend my donor money?
Yes.
Like, how do I want to sponsor things? So that having that accurate information is crucial.
It really is.
Especially if you're trying to do something at a micro level.
Yeah, absolutely. And even our grant applications ask for the same information that's found in Candid. And if your profile is up to date, that information will feed our applications so that you don't even have to worry about putting it in there, because it just automatically comes over. So it's just it can be a time saver.
Yeah.
But that also shows the importance and the value of that being accurate and up to date.
Right. So I know that you guys are able to assist in multiple different areas. And so like education, that's what the Nonprofit Excellence Program is about.
Yes.
And you also have some money that you can actually assist as well. Is that correct?
We do have some special grant funding that has gone out for the most part in an action plan format.
Okay.
Meaning the nonprofit participants will work through a program. Most recently, we had a partnership with a company called Resilia. And we had a cohort of nonprofits who spent a year with the content on their platform and doing some one-on-one coaching and doing some peer networking and really just strengthening. They all would pick a few key goals and work through that throughout the year. And we not only sponsor their participation at no cost to them, but we also then at the end, if they've met a very simple metric, then we provide action grants so that they can take what they've learned and actually put that into play. So that's a model we're continuing to grow. And then the other space that we're really excited about is the growth of professional development dollars and making them available to our nonprofits, who then can attend, the more expensive workshops or a conference or join an affiliated group or, an association for a year so that they can learn and strengthen themselves. Again, taking advantage of the organizations and the opportunities that are already out there. So that's a little bit of a stay tuned. We're just getting that launched. We've already had a couple of donors who are really excited about that as a funding stream. So we're excited to be able to grow that as time goes on and as the need continues.
Well, I think the need is definitely there.
No, for sure.
So 100%. Do you know if that's going to be hopefully at the end of 2025 in the future years?
That's our hope, is to be able to at least launch the process by the fall.
Perfect.
And then ideally award the first professional development grants in the early spring of next year. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I said it's stay tuned. We're still
that's a very stay tuned. But honestly, I mean, that's very hopeful that a year from now, there's going to have this more opportunity to get that leadership development dollars out there. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Excited about that.
That's very cool. Can you talk about any other collaborations that you've had built or seen over the since you've been here with the Community Foundation of Broward?
Several different things come to mind at once. We did as an initial partnership with the Fundraising School, which is part of the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy, based out of Indiana University.
Okay.
They're nationally known and recognized, and they have a credentialing program. And they offer classes in 6 locations around the country, and Fort Lauderdale is one of them, and the only one in the Southeast. So we've continued to grow that partnership. And when they first started, the goal was just to have a couple of classes in Fort Lauderdale. But fortunately, because I had been working with them and am now here at the foundation, we were able to grow that partnership. So now there are actually 2 fundraising credentials that you can take part in and participate and gain. And all of the classes are offered here in Broward at the Community Foundation offices. So that is one of the collaborations that is really powerful, because other than a certified fundraising executive credential, there's not a lot of other credentials out there for nonprofit professionals.
Yeah.
It's a growing field, but the credentials, they call it the Certified Fundraising Manager, or a CFRM. That is the initial credential the Fundraising School has been giving for years, and that you can now fully get that by participating in the classes at the Community Foundation. And then they just launched a certificate in fundraising leadership. So that is a new launch, and we are the first location outside of Indiana that will be offering those classes.
Oh, awesome.
So that's an exciting collaboration at a bigger level. We also collaborate with an organization called Board Source to bring in really, reputable national training on working with your boards of directors. We work with Spectrum Nonprofits, which is an organization out of Milwaukee that does nonprofit finance education and support. So we just had some classes there with them recently. So there's some of those types of collaborations that are happening. But then the beauty of pulling our nonprofits together, whether it's virtually in a Zoom space or in person, at the foundation office or offsite, is that the nonprofit collaborations just start to happen naturally. As soon as they're sitting around, and I always take the time at the beginning of a class to have everyone introduce themselves and what they do, and a little bit of their why they're doing the work that they're doing, for that very purposeful reason of it. it just naturally lets people say, oh, Chris's nonprofit is doing this work. We're looking for somebody to help our kids with that.
Right.
And I have seen organizations offer, anything from tours of the Museum of Science and Discovery to just to, experiential opportunities. Just again, this morning at an event, I was standing next to an organization who said, oh, my kids are looking for, service hours as part of their after school program.
Yeah.
Speaking to an animal rescue that said, we're looking for people to care with and work with our dogs. And so immediately that happened. And so, like I said, I could probably talk all day about, the types of collaborations that happen in that space, but we've got to get people the space and the comfort to do that. And then on the funding side, we've got to be able to support those collaborations happening and making that possible and helping them understand and us understand what that, what collaborative works look like, when it comes to the, who's paying the bills and who does the check go to and those kinds of things.
Right.
So it's a space we're all continuing to learn and grow and strengthen the overall sector, and in particular the funders sector, as those collaborations are happening.
Well, this is amazing. Like my brain is just spinning in all these amazing, good, different ways. There's so many different things that nonprofits are needing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we actually are working with for-profits, they don't always understand.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten, our listeners, our viewers today, specifically more on some of the challenges or lessons that you've learned or have seen other nonprofits learn,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could actually work with the for-profit or other nonprofits to make it a little bit more stronger?
Yeah. That is something. I mean, my brain is spinning a million ways too.
Yeah.
But the idea of really thinking about what is it that nonprofits need the support to do, and then what kind of fun lessons have we learned along the way? I'm going to go two directions on that.
Okay.
As far as in particular, thinking about how can for-profits and even donors really help and support and strengthen the nonprofits to really be able to do the mission work that is so critical for our communities, to be successful and to be amazing places to live, like Broward is. And part of that is understanding that it takes the development of the capacity to do the work, which is the term we use in the nonprofit sector for it takes money to pay the people to do the work and to buy the computers and to support the vans and buy the gas and pay the light bill and all of the things that it takes to run a for-profit business. It takes all those same resources to run a nonprofit business.
Correct.
Right. But there's still, although it's getting better, there's still such a concern about, we shouldn't support overhead, and you hear that term a lot. And really, if I could leave anybody with any education left, it would be that that we absolutely should support overhead.
Yes.
That is supporting the people that do the work, and you want if someone's doing an after school childcare program, we want well-qualified, talented, passionate people to be working with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's going to take some resources to make that happen.
Correct.
We hear a lot about the turnover in the sector and, and the wages in the sector and how hard those things are. And those are real challenges the nonprofits face when they can't get the support, for some of those core operations. So, as far as how can we, as a community and as a collective sort of continue to support nonprofits, I'd say that's a big area. But the other thing that I think is really interesting is how, just maybe misunderstood or assumed it is that today's environment, for example, is new for nonprofits. I've been in this space for 37 years. I did the math the other day. Yikes. But a really long time. And, you see a lot of things happen. And my colleagues do as well. We talk about just many of the ebbs and flows. But at the end of the day, there's so many of the core competencies, core pieces of work that nonprofits are doing and working toward. They stay the same. And in fact, I was just in a class within the last couple of days, and the presenter actually quoted Ruth McCambridge, who is now the editor emeritus of Nonprofit Quarterly. And the quote that she shared that is certainly relevant today is that nonprofits must now function at the edge of the present and the future, and that strategies must be fast-moving, flexible, and continuously experimental. And the most interesting piece about that is that was written in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it sounds like, it's today.
Yeah.
And someone listening to this podcast a year from now is going to have a situation that makes it sound like today as well. So for all of us, I think one of the key lessons to learn and remember is that is somewhat the nature of the work that we do. That things are changing, and resiliency and flexibility and a true eye for sustainability through and navigating through whatever the next thing is going to be, pandemic, whatever. That's so important to make sure that the organization is positioned well and positioned so that they can be flexible and nimble. We all had to do it in the pandemic. That was probably the biggest, broadest example that most of us, at least recently, can think about, although certainly many, many organizations are facing similar, structure challenges and mission challenges today. The lesson there is really that positioning your organization well is always going to be important, no matter what we're facing.
So really kind of what I'm hearing, and quote me if I'm wrong, but, it's really niching down specifically in your mission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you can be different enough from the other organizations that are doing similar work, that's when you can have more collaboration with those other organizations.
Exactly.
And it's going to help you find those specific donors and sponsors that are like, oh, I love this niche approach, that they're going to give you that money. Versus if you're just kind of broadly doing it, well, they're like, well, I could give it to this one or this one or this one.
Yeah, and how do I choose? That's always a big question we get.
Yeah. And honestly, they're going to come to you as a resource to help. Where should I choose to put this money?
Right.
And so really niching down to the point where it's like, this is our mission. This is our vision. This is what we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely.
It makes it so much more powerful, and it gives them the ability to, like you said, find that donor dollar and that grant money.
Absolutely. And even to build, kind of back to your area of expertise, but to build the story, right? That is so important. It is in the storytelling when they really understand their mission and they really understand the work that they're doing and the impact that they're making. That is such an important component to building those stories. And I mean, that's the work that you all know and do so well. But that's what they've got to be able to share that does help a donor truly understand, where the right match is and where that true connection can be.
Well, and especially in this time right now where we don't know where grants and funding is going to come from. And it's a little bit of chaos because we're all thinking like, oh, is this going to still be here? Is this going to be still here? Right. And I put on an article on LinkedIn specifically about how important storytelling is now more than ever because of that. The uncertainty that we are all facing is where are those donor dollars going to come from? Yeah. Because if it can't come from grants, where is it going to come from? It has to come from the community.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the community is only going to respond to you if you're telling the right story. And so that storytelling is so critical. So one of the things that I actually had mentioned in previous episodes is specifically, we do a lot of different ways. We'll teach you just how to storytell on your own. Go out and do it. Because the more that you can put your story out into the community and have a strategy behind it.
Exactly.
It's more invaluable. So I know what we're partnering right now at the Community Foundation of Broward specifically, we're going to be teaching storytelling. We're going to be teaching how to actually capture your own material. You need to create this content library that's going to help you constantly be able to tell your story through years to come.
Yeah.
And so if you capture the content of an event, or, capturing that testimonial or interview, success story, whatever it is, you can reuse it, you can repurpose it.
Absolutely.
And it saves more money by just having a space to store all this material and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Go, yep, I need this, I need this, I need this. And so that's extremely important. And I can't wait to actually, share some of this knowledge when we actually get to talk with the people that are going to be there.
Oh yeah, we're really excited about that partnership as well, and being
Yeah.
able to provide those resources and those tools, to again strengthen the toolbox that are our nonprofit professionals. I always talk in my grant writing classes about building a pantry and having all the pieces and parts to build the recipes, for your success. And that, that's what we're building our stories on. So
Right.
helping people have those pieces, in the pantry that they can pull out, I think is going to be really, really a great value. So we're excited about that coming up.
Yeah. I do have a question, and it's a little off topic from my normal list, but it's actually kind of interesting. How many nonprofits do you know that are actually, have videos to tell their story?
Not as many as we would like.
Yeah.
But there is some growth in that,
Good.
at least from what we're seeing. And in fact, we even provide the opportunity as a funder in your grant reporting to do, to provide some video opportunities for that.
So invaluable. It's so
Yeah.
valuable.
So again, and as that trend grows, that the understanding how to build that story is going to be even that much more important, and how to highlight, what impact is and looks like, because impact may not just be the number of people that came to a workshop. It's going to be what changed because of that. And so we want to be sure that people are capturing, all of that kind of information and building that into their stories. That's going to be so important. But yeah, I mean, it is such a need to be able to do that and do that well, and to be able to do that concisely. I think as we look at the attention for videos, while I can remember when they said, "Oh, your video should be under 30 minutes," now we laugh at that concept.
We kind of do.
Yeah, right. So just knowing what some of those parameters are, how to best get that story out, is going to be so important.
Well, and the biggest impact that a video can make is if you can actually pull in the right emotion that you're trying to convey to the community, and you're trying to convey to your target audience, which are donors, supporters, the general
Absolutely.
community as a whole, and sometimes even the grant funders.
Oh, for sure.
Because now, I mean, even video is so important with your grant application.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's showcasing the impact, it's showcasing the stories and the changes you're doing. Yes, they need the numbers, but when you connect on a more emotional level, it works so much faster in your favor.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's having that strategy, telling the right story, and really kind of looking at it from an outsider's perspective. I recommend find someone else to take a look, give them all the information, and have them look at what your story should be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because if you are constantly living it day to day and in and out, you're going to have a different perspective. But if you have someone else look at it from an outside lens, you can see something more possible.
Yeah.
And, if we took it from this angle and we did it this way, or we said, you know what, let's just follow this one person and talk about their journey through all of the services that you offer, and the what they have come out at the end, and having that up and down, like, here is the challenge.
Yeah, the whole story arc.
The whole story arc.
Exactly.
And a lot of us just want to say, well, here's what the facts are, here's what that is. If you're playing those type of videos over and over again, a lot of the times the people you're trying to convince to give you money, they kind of just tune it out. It's like, well, I've already heard this multiple times.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, this could have been my neighbor, and they went through this, and I didn't understand it. And then you saw this organization step in as the hero of the story.
Exactly.
And showcased step by step what they've done. And it's not even about the organization as a whole for the story. It's about this person, their journey.
Right.
But it gives them the best light.
Right.
And it can hopefully get them that extra dollar.
It does, because that's, I mean, I'm not a brain scientist, but but brain science does, in the simplified, I said I started as a fourth grade teacher. So in my fourth grade teacher mode, brain science, the way that people remember stories is problem, solution, action.
Correct.
I mean, and so what we want people to leave, as from any story that they're hearing, but certainly, in the video stories, we've got the real ability to make that impact. Is what was the problem, that the client, the participant was facing, what challenges were in the way, who was the hero that helped solve it, usually the organization or the experience, and what was the end result, and then what do we want the donors to do, right?
Right.
And so we've got to always remember that piece of it as well.
Yeah. So
excited about this.
Yeah, no, it's always great. And always make sure you have a call to action. What do you want them to do?
100%.
If it's just as simple as going to your website, that's still a call to action.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's, volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
What is the end result? What do you need the most of? And so sometimes you have to make several different videos for each of those different calls to action.
Yes.
It's not always going to be fit into one video. And I think that's what a lot of us do, is like, oh, I just need one video. But in the truth, if you captured everything that we've kind of discussed so far, you could make 50 videos.
Exactly. Yeah. And one video is not going to be memorable if it's got all of that information in it.
It's over.
Yeah,
it's overkill.
Yeah. They're not going to be able to, which group was it that had the this and the that and the that? Yeah. You want the simplified, clean stories. And that is going to be so important. Well, it continues to be,
Well, and even on the spectrum of just kind of looking at what people are watching now, people are watching more documentaries now than movies and TV shows. And if you think about it, it's an individual's story.
Right.
And they're talking about all the different journeys. Maybe they're pulling in this, company or this nonprofit that helped them and got them through this challenging time. Or maybe it was just a change of, mindset, or whatever the case may be. When we actually try to create videos for the nonprofit, we want to go in at that angle, and we want to do it as a short, maybe 3 to 5 minutes long, but in that documentary setting. Like, we want to follow a story of, either it's an employee, either it's, one of the people that got helped by the nonprofit, or whatever example that we need to kind of showcase to really help them get their story across.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, memorable, brief, that the donor, that a funder, a board member can watch and know and understand, and we hear so much about people's concerns about, I'm not sure my board of directors is fundraising for us, or they're not sure what they're supposed to be doing. And man, if you've got stories like that, and all they really have to do is say, there's this really cool organization I'm part of, we help cancer victims and patients and families do amazing work. And, if you'd like to learn more, here's a quick video. Any of us can have a simple story like that to share.
Right.
And that really empowers our board, our volunteers, our other staff members, and just people in the community that love the work we do, to be able to truly begin to advocate for us. So again, the value of that story is so important.
I didn't even think about this until just now as we're talking, but these kind of videos that we're discussing right now is really truly how it's going to help people stay in the nonprofit sector.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, now you're connecting on an even deeper level. And if you're trying to get that initial person to apply, or get them to, change a career path to come to the nonprofit sector, it's these type of stories, if it's done the right way, that are going to be like, oh my gosh, you inspired me.
Yeah.
You've changed my thought process on this. And one of the other things that you mentioned specifically is a nonprofit is a business. So we need to add those resources to the overhead so that they can hire these individuals to do better work and more work.
Exactly.
It can't, not all nonprofits can run just on volunteers.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's part of the growth pattern.
Correct.
Many organizations start that way, but yeah, there comes a point when you're at capacity of what volunteers can do and do well. So, there'll be a time when staffing is something that the organization's got to consider.
Well, and if you're looking at a one-person nonprofit, they're running the whole entire ship. And how many people can they manage
Right.
for volunteers
Right.
before it's like, I need help?
Mm-hmm.
And that help is overhead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
they
it's,
have to take it into consideration.
it really is. That's a key piece of it too. Yeah. And helping people just understand that means the work gets done and gets done better or more broadly, or serves more people, deepens the engagement, whatever it may be.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Wow. And so you mentioned a statistic towards the beginning. There was like 8,000 are
10.
grassroots.
Oh, yeah, to 80%. Yeah, so
80%. So
probably 8,000.
8,000 are
Mm-hmm.
grassroots
Mm-hmm.
nonprofits in Broward community
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, just in Broward County, yeah, with
That's
budgets
so
under
many.
$50,000.
And that's not a huge amount of money.
No.
Like when you actually think about it over a course of a year, like that's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if it was
That's
us,
a
like,
volunteer base. Yeah, that's not paying
completely
anybody.
voluntary. Yeah, you can't pay
Yeah.
anybody because it's going 100% to programming.
Yeah.
Which is very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But how do they expand?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what can you tell or give as a suggestion for all of these grassroots? Because honestly, it sounds like, I mean, with 80% in this sector, how can they utilize the Community Foundation of Broward and the Nonprofit Excellent Program to further get them to a space where they can grow?
Yeah, and I mean they can jump on the website at their own time, and if that's midnight, the resources are there, so they can look at how do I run my nonprofit. You can look at there are templates for how to strengthen your board and how to build a budget and just all of those kinds of things. Those resources exist. You can pull them whenever you have the time to look. We also, again, offer in-person and virtual classes. So there are a lot of those. And then we even have some asynchronous classes. In other words, the classes that are all sort of pre-recorded and you can access them again at midnight if that's the time that works for you or whatever time. So there are some training, but there's also a million things that they could be focused on. And that can be really overwhelming, especially for those really small shops. So picking one or two areas, okay, this is what I need to focus on now. Growing my volunteer base. That's a really big piece. Strengthening the board of directors. That's a really big piece because that really builds capacity because those are more people that can help you do the work to meet the mission, to grow to a size where you can start to bring additional staff members in to continue.
Right.
So it is really helping. The resources are there. What so many of us don't, and I remember this in my days as well, is I just didn't know where to start, right? It just seemed so overwhelming that I didn't know where to start. And so the creation of the Broward Center for Nonprofit Excellence, in particular on the website, there's a resource hub that is a place to start. And it's a place to see those templates. It's a place to read some of those articles. It's a place to see what those classes are. It's also a place to see what are the other entities in the community that can help me? How do I get in touch with the Small Business Development Center? How can I find out what the Children's Services Council is funding right now?
Right.
How do you become a United Way agency? All of those connections are there. And I will warn you, it is a vast resource now and it's continuing to grow almost by the day. But know that those resources are there. And we want to see you be successful as a nonprofit at any size because we know the needs in the community are vast. And we lean on and rely on the nonprofit sector to help us meet those needs. And so, the better we can equip them and the better equipped they can be to do that work, the more success we all see. And so that's the goal. So it's a starting place. It will continue to grow,
right?
But it's hopefully the place to begin.
No, I think that's great. So for anybody that's actually a nonprofit that has not been connected to the Community Foundation, is there any fees that they have to worry about? Is it completely free? How does that structure look like?
Yeah, as far as accessing our resources, everything at this point has been completely free.
Awesome.
And we don't ever anticipate those tools and templates and articles and that kind of stuff. That will always be free resources. Many of our classes and trainings and programs are also at no cost to the nonprofits.
Okay.
Thanks to a lot of the additional funding partners that we have. The Nonprofit Center in particular has a funding partner with the Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation. And so thank you to them for being able to provide so many of these tools and resources. As we continue to grow and bring in additional trainings, there may be some that will have some fee associated with them.
Sure.
The Fundraising Schools program does have fees associated with it, and that's where we then tie back to those professional development dollars that we're working to build and grow.
Excellent.
So it is, again, the goal is to be that starting point. And we're not membership based, so anybody can participate as long as you're serving folks in Broward. We welcome the more the merrier.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How, I know I have 1,000 more questions. We could go on for days. I think this could be a multi-episode. So I got just 2 more questions really quick. So how can specifically for-profit businesses connect or collaborate with, the Community Foundation a little bit further?
Yeah. Really, we're just sort of developing those partnerships as well.
Okay.
Traditionally, there have been funding opportunities, sponsor opportunities, those kinds of things, as there are with a lot of our nonprofits. But helping to, again, connect the for-profit business with particularly those very entrepreneurial, very philanthropic, wanting to support the amazing social impact work that's happening in the community.
Mm-hmm.
That a best place to start really is that directory. What is it that your business wants to support? Is it food security? Is it food security in the top 5 zip codes where your employees live? And if that's the case,
sure,
they can find those organizations through the foundation. We've got an amazing team. There are 25 people on the Community Foundation team. So all you've got to do is call the office and somebody will be glad to help out. But a lot of those resources are available, again, to start to see where is that impact going to be the big difference. And then circling back to what we were talking about earlier, don't be afraid as a for-profit business to support capacity or core mission. Those are the 2 terms that are offered and used in the nonprofit sector to say this is how we pay the people and bill, the light bills and those kinds of things. Because at the end of the day, all of those impact the client served, every last piece. So,
right.
That all is part of supporting their nonprofits and making sure that work is happening.
So, and sometimes I want to also throw this out to all the for-profit businesses out there as well. Sometimes, if it's not money you can give, what if you donated half your day for your workers to go volunteer?
Oh, fabulous. Yeah.
What if you were to offer a couple hours of your service that you offer that could be very helpful for that nonprofit to keep the lights on, to do this, whatever the case may be? It's not always about money.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a volunteer, it's services that you can offer. And I'm sure there's a multitude of other different ideas out there that really, could be valuable. And I want to try to pull that into this conversation. Yeah. Because sometimes we get so stuck and okay, this charity just needs money.
Right.
And then you kind of let it go. But if you thought about it okay, wait, let me open my vision. Let me open my, pull these binoculars away from me and just look, I wonder if this could be valuable to them because I have an abundance of it.
Right. Products. Yeah, you're right. Volunteer time. And there's research on employee retention that says for companies that says if they have an opportunity to volunteer on company time supported by the company, that is a retention strategy.
It is.
That is a benefit that young professionals are looking for before they are even hired. They want to know what is that policy, what is the the social impact that the company is making, and they really want those opportunities. So that's that's a win-win. That helps the nonprofits, it helps the for-profits.
Correct.
It helps the employee retention and employee satisfaction. There's a ton that goes into just that aspect of it, whether it's one volunteer that gets, 2 hours a week or a month, or if it's a group of volunteers on a giving day, or it's supporting those, in your C-suite and your sort of leadership levels, to serve board service and to match their giving as part of that organization. There are a lot of different really interesting ways to make an impact in the sector and for, at the end of the day, for your employees and your customers, because
Yeah.
customers love to see that as well.
So I have to give a shout out to my old employer, Maslin in Minneapolis. That was one thing that they did. They actually were working with Habitat for Humanity, and a huge group of us like went out and helped build a home.
Yeah.
And that was just part of, their culture and their giving back. And so for me, that was another step forward.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I get to give back, and they recognize it, and they're giving, they're actually letting me be there and paying for my day.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super important, because honestly, it changes someone's mindset.
Absolutely.
When you're doing something better for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so the companies that do that, and they can see that, I came back the next day with a whole different mindset. And by changing that mindset, I probably did 10 times better work.
Yeah.
So it's not always about like, oh, he's going to be gone from the office for a full day, but it can be so much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
It really, and giving in general, what some of the really fun research that is coming out of the Lilly School and elsewhere around the country, is the health benefit of giving not just money, but time, energy, resources, all of those things, and it's showing that there is it's dopamine release. It's it's
science.
It literally is changing the way people think and the way people feel and the way people behave. And nonprofits are given the opportunity to help people reach those amazing experiences. And so, any way that we can connect people in those experiences benefits everybody.
Oh, 100%, 100%. All right. So last question as we wrap up. Thank you for being on with me so long already, but this is great. What is the legacy you, as an individual, hope to leave through your work to future generations?
Oh, and I love that question. It is such a beautiful way to think about the work that we do in the nonprofit space, and a special way for me to get to think about it as well.
Yeah.
The beauty of the way that the Nonprofit Center was created, in this gift from the Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation in partnership with the foundation, is that it was endowed. So the center will be in existence in perpetuity, which is amazing, because that means, nonprofits 10, 15, 30, 100 years from now,
amazing,
meeting needs we can't even fathom, we'll still have a resource, a place to go. So for me, the personal legacy piece of that, in getting to sort of be the starting point for this, to help to get to found this, is to lay that groundwork so that there will in fact always be a place for nonprofit professionals who are near and dear to my heart can go and learn and strengthen and collaborate and work together and be in the space, and be successful toward their missions.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. I love that you're looking forward, a century, not just 5 years down the road. It's like, you know what, this is for future generations. Yeah. So absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Cathy, thank you so much for being on the show today. I hope that everybody has gotten some amazing tidbits of knowledge and tips. And, if you do need some resources, go to cfbroward.org, get the information there, work with the Community Foundation of Broward, and develop your skills. Yeah. So they have amazing workshops. So yes, thank you again so much for being on the show.
It was an honor to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visualize. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.